Welcome, everyone, to episode 3 of the Transfer Cast. I am one half of the Transfer Kings, Cold Colby, joined, of course, by
Ian, in today's episode, we're going to talk about something near and dear to me and probably both of us together. It's Pokemon. It's Pokemon. More specifically, Pokemon Go.
that's right, Ian. Pokemon Go, mobile app developed by Niantic and released in 2016. The game, well, it's seen a rise and fall in popularity since its release, but there's still a very dedicated community of players out there, including ourselves. And we'd like to talk about our thoughts on the game, give a little perspective on how it's evolved since its release, and give you thoughts on things that we enjoy, such as changes, new additions, and all of our own memories that we've created from this social gaming experience.
But of course, it wouldn't be a Pokemon Go podcast without a special guest. So to join us today, we'd like to bring in our resident shiny expert, Brian.
Thanks for having me on your podcast, guys. I wouldn't consider myself a shiny expert, but I appreciate the compliment.
We definitely appreciate having you on. And I beg to differ because I did invite you to several Deoxys raids where you kept getting shinies. So
I mean, that's RNG. That luck was kicking in that day.
Yeah, you took all my RNG.
meanwhile, Ian had to wait 84 raids before he got a shiny.
I mean, don't hate the player, hate the game. I don't know.
Well, thank you for joining. Let's go ahead and we'll get into this. All right, so for Pokemon Go, we were trying to figure out how we would kind of organize this episode and how we would talk about this. And I think probably the best way to start would be to talk about where Pokemon Go was when it first launched back in 2016 versus where it's at now in 2022, 6 years later. Anybody who has played the game from when it came out to now knows that it's drastically changed. And there's a lot of differences. So we're going to jump into some of those things. Ian, I'll start with you. What are some of the things that have changed since the game first came out that you've noticed that have been really key to the Pokemon Go experience?
So, all right, I think the biggest things is I remember when the game first came out, and I remember one of my roommates at the time, Derek, was super excited about this game, and I think that like I had heard about the game, and I had played the Google Maps version of it, where it was just Pokemon on Google Maps, and you just tapped on it, and it apparently caught. So my expectations were not big right away, and it was something that I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the game. But when the game first came out, my other roommate, Kyle, who probably never would have known anything about Pokemon, was one of the first ones to download the game. And Derek had downloaded the game, and I still had not downloaded the game. So they were like, hey, why don't you download the game and we're going to go out and catch some Pokemon? I was like, I guess so. And, the three of us set out on a journey, much like Ash, Brock, and Misty, to find Pidgeys and Rattatas and like a lone Magikarp. And that's when we learned that Magikarp takes 400 candies to evolve. And we're like, oh, how are we ever going to do that? We found one Magikarp, one Psyduck, and then more Pidgeys. Like, I feel like that was the Pidgey life, Pidgey and Rattata life. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, to be fair, it was one of the first days, obviously, that the game came out, and there were so many people playing that game. And it was weird seeing a bunch of people on their phones and you knowing what they're doing. Like the phenomenon that I would not have predicted before Pokemon Go came out that would be the way it was. And granted, it's very limited what you could do in 2016. So if you've not played the game since 2016, of course, there's a lot of changes, such as raids, such as, the gym system has changed a lot. And we'll go into more detail about each of these changes, but there's a lot of things that have changed that have been good and bad for the game. And unfortunately, I think some of these changes came out maybe a little too late to retain a lot of the hype that was going on with the game. I remember back in 2016, your game would crash maybe once a day, and it was, and it'd take forever to reload, and it's just like knowing where a Pokestop was, or not knowing how to throw the damn ball at a Zubat. So many things that happened back in 2016 that and then like not knowing how Pokemon work. One of the things I do miss about the game, which probably caused the game to crash, but one of the things I miss about the game was the footsteps when you're trying to find a Pokemon. I thought that was unique, in which like the Pokemon nearby were like, it would just show footsteps and it would tell you if you're going the right or wrong direction. Now they just tell you if it's at a Pokestop. Well, what like okay, so now I know exactly where that Pokemon, but it doesn't tell you where other Pokemon are that are not near the Pokestop. So I think the one thing I liked about that old edition was the footsteps. Like, hey, you're going the right direction. You're like, it made you feel like you were hunting versus
Telling
just
you
going,
exactly
oh,
where to go.
yeah, go right here and you'll find it. Which, I mean, granted, we had apps for that eventually, anyways, for IVs and stuff like that, and I would go hunting for them as well. I'm not going to say I didn't use apps to find 100 IVs or good rare spawns and stuff like that. And I mean, I will say that it was fun, but it took away from the game in the aspect of you finding a hundo in just like random versus like you knowing exactly where that hundo is and going, and everybody else got that hundo and it's not unique that much anymore. Or the unknown spawns. Like I mean, to be fair, I would never know where an unknown is if it wasn't for those trackers. But everybody had the unknown at that point. Like, it's not special because everybody went and ran to that unknown at that point. But yeah, we'll go into more details about that. How about you guys? How was your first experience of the game?
Brian, how about you? How was your first experience?
So for me, I downloaded the game like a week to week and a half after the game released. And that's after Ian was like trying to push me to get the game. That was you, Ian. You were like, "You gotta play the game, man. It's fun." And like you were selling. You were basically on your salesman mode. You were in salesman mode, selling me Pokemon Go, because I like many other 90s kids or whatever. I had played like the Game Boy games, like Pokemon Blue, Red. I played up to Silver, like red, blue, gold, and silver, and probably Crystal. But I hadn't touched a Pokemon game since then. Like, I just kind of like that. Like, all right, this phase is over for me. Whatever. Flash forward to Ian trying to sell me on Pokemon Go. So, and after a while of not having anything to do, I was like, well, I'll do it and see what happens. Because at first I really wasn't gonna do it, and I was like, I'm bored. I gotta do something. So I did it, and it was just a start. My starter. I remember the starter. My starter was Charmander. I definitely chose Charmander when I opened the game, and that's another thing about it. When you create an account, you pick a starter, and that's what's going to be the first spawn for you to catch. And there used to be I guess there still is a hack or a trick to get Pikachu as your starter. I don't remember what it is anymore, but it probably
so it's if you see the 3 starters, so Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle will appear on your screen, and if you walk away from them, eventually Pikachu will show up.
Okay.
So if you don't catch them, if you don't go around, but you see them because they'll spawn the moment you open the app. But then you just keep walking and you just keep walking and you don't catch anything. Eventually, Pikachu will be a starter. But of course, my starter was Squirtle, my boy Squirtle from the Squirtle Squad. Squirtle was my starter. Colby, I'm going to say that to make this a trio, you should have picked Bulbasaur, but I'm going to guarantee you did not pick Bulbasaur. Derek picked Bulbasaur. but I'm gonna guess that you did not pick Bulbasaur.
So, I did pick Bulbasaur, but not because I would ever pick Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is my number 3 in Gen 1. Like, I love Squirtle and Charmander both. I hate Bulbasaur. I don't know why. The only reason I picked Bulbasaur was because at the time when I first played, I didn't realize that this was the Pokemon Go equivalent of choose your starter. I thought, oh wow, all 3 starters just spawned. I'm gonna catch them all. And I tapped Bulbasaur first. I caught it, and now I'm like, wait, where'd Charmander and Squirtle go?
And back in the day, at least in Cockeysville, where I was at, finding Squirtle or Charmander were almost impossible, especially for the candies. Like I remember, like a Squirtle popped up around my apartment complex, and like it was in the nearby I was talking about, and I was running around in the woods and everything trying to find it, and it finally came, and then it popped out and broke out and ran away, and I was very sad because that was only the second, and that was before understanding what power ups and everything were, and that was before IVs were introduced in the game, and the IV system. So I had already used the little candy I had for Squirtle and just powered it up. And it's a crap. Your starter's a crap IV, anyways. So I waste
Always
like
a 10
things.
CP.
Yeah,
Terrible
things that
IVs.
like I would tell myself if I restarted the game, which I did restart my game multiple times, but would be like, as someone who's never picked the game, is understand what IVs are and understand, like, don't power up just random Pokemon, save your Stardust, and then also save your candies. I mean, nowadays with events, like a lot of the big events, you can get a lot of candies and get a lot of Stardust to power up Pokemon, and that'd be fine. But pick the best one. According to you, it doesn't have to be a hundo. If you're into PvP, which we'll talk about, it's like apparently a 0 attack, which makes absolutely no sense when you're fighting something and you want a 0 attack. I don't know. I've never understood PvP in this game.
It makes no sense. But I will say, we were talking about a couple of the things that you missed from when the game first came out. For me personally, one of the things I missed from the first like year, almost probably 2 years that the game came out, is how excited people would get over Pokemon that are just seem trivial to find in the wild now. Like I remember when it was only Gen 1, going to, I think I was going to the hospital for something, and I was sitting in the waiting room and I just saw a Blastoise pop up. And I was like, oh my God, it's a wild Blastoise. There's no way I gotta get this. Where's it at? Where's it at? And how excited I was. And how excited people would get when they would find like a wild Gyarados or a wild Dragonite. And now it's like anyone who's played the game since it started, or even for just a couple years, probably has those Pokemon, and at least one, if not more, that they've gotten over
Something
time.
that they coveted, right? Like something that they coveted. Now, of course, then there's my friend Mateo, who wants to cause chaos, and we're in the Tuttle Basin within the first, because around me Seal did not spawn, and that's one of the Pokemon that were out that I didn't have in the Pokedex. And ironically, after I went to the Tuttle Basin where Seal spawned, they had a Seal nest near me like a week later, and I was like, "What? This is ridiculous." But with the Seal, like we went to the Tuttle Basin. My friend Mateo, Kyle, and I all went to the Tuttle Basin catching Pokemon, and of course, he wanted to be one of those people that cause chaos and goes Aerodactyl, and almost got trampled. There is no Aerodactyl there. He just wanted to cause chaos. That's literally what it was.
Wow.
But there were so many people in the Tuttle Basin playing Pokemon Go. And that like, you're not gonna get that anymore. Like, not even in community days are you gonna see that as much. Like, there's certain factions probably out there that still do it, but like, this not like just random tons of people. Like, you go to the park, you may see one other person on their phone that might be playing Pokemon Go. But back in the day, back in 2016, you go to the park and maybe one person's not playing Pokemon Go.
One of the biggest reasons for that, that we can talk about, is that I guess one of the biggest things that's been added since the game introduced was raids, which, for those unfamiliar, raids were added to gyms. Basically, you get a Pokemon. When they first came out, it was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stars, I think.
Yes, 1 through 5. I remember when raids first came out, and we had no clue what raids were, right? Like, we were not at the level cap at that point. Like, I think it first started with level 40, and then moved down to like a level 35. I think at the time of raids, I was like 29, um, level 29. So it was like there was no, let's say, like we were waiting on it. And so one of the first raids that popped up, we were at Target, my roommate Kyle and I, and of course we don't know what raids we can do, what raids we can't do. And of course it's a Snorlax raid, a level 4 at that time, a 4-star raid at that time. And Kyle and I tried to battle it, could never beat it. Could never beat it. It was just me, him, and some random person at Target trying to take down this Snorlax with our level 29, 26 accounts with no counters, just trying to take down the Snorlax, and it's just not going down. We went in there like a couple times, and we're just like, yeah, and like thinking like the health bar moved like an inch. And like that was our first experience with raids. But raids were definitely a lot of fun. I think, and finding raids and finding different Pokemon, and then meeting a lot of people. But I guess your biggest time, like, so we didn't even have, like, we had a small group. That's kind of when groups started. Like when you first started Pokemon, you'd walk around with people, but there was no like need for other people to play the game, right? Like you're not interacting with anybody in the game. You're interacting with people outside the game. Like, hey, you want to meet up and find Pokemon? And then like, hey, I found a rare Pokemon over here or something like that. But that was the interaction you had with people. Raids made it where you had to go find other people and bring them in and actually work together to get the reward, basically. And that was a cool feature. I think it missed a little bit of a mark. Like if it got released a little earlier, I think it could have retained some more people, um, at least for that time being. And then Legendary Rage is where it really got people into like there's no way. My roommate Derek and I tried to take on Articuno by ourselves the first day that Articuno and Lugia were released, and of course that did not go according to plan. And but eventually I did get a lot of Articunos and Lugias during that time. Went down to Baltimore, met a lot of people in Baltimore. Just after work, just hopped on what they call a raid trains, and we rolled with like 20 people deep. Kyle took the light rail down, met up with me in Baltimore, and we just went around and caught like a bunch of Articunos and Lugias. And that was that's one of the most memorable experiences, because you're just like, holy crap, like we have a lot of people, nobody we knew, people that I still don't know. It's you know, I don't even know if any of them play the game anymore. But during that one day, during the Legendaries in Baltimore, where they have a ton of gyms, it was one of those things where we'd go all around and be like, "Hey, are you battling this Articuno? Yeah, are you battling this Articuno?" It was a crazy thought, and like nothing that we've seen since when it first came out. Really, like when it first came out, it was a huge wave, and then it all kind of died. Lagging issues, just retention. It wasn't the most popular thing. I was actually surprised. The reason Kyle got into this game is because it was a trend. It was like Kyle's a very trendy person. So when it became untrendy, he still plays this game. It's a weird, but he wasn't one of the main trendy people that were just like, I'm gonna play this game, and then they play it for like a week, and then they're like, it's not trendy anymore. I'm not gonna play this game.
What about you, Brian? What was your first raid experience like?
I'm yeah, see, I'm trying to remember when I was first doing raids. I don't think, well, yeah, I don't think I was with Ian or Kyle during raids. I have done raids with them in the past. As far as the first ones, I see. I'm trying to remember the first one of the raids I did. I will say, as far as coming, I will say when I did move. So when I moved out of Maryland to West Virginia, is that's when I really saw the impact of Pokemon Go because I I grew up in Baltimore and also I was like, all right, I'm used to the city and people everywhere doing whatever. And I'd seen some uh I was aware I've seen some groups of people and stuff, but in a city that it's like there's always a bunch of people doing something. So you come out here where it's a bunch of towns and you really see the impact of Pokemon Go. So like I remember so one of the at the time yeah, there was like a Articuno there was an Articuno raid that I jumped at I did I so it was on the college campus, WVU, West Virginia University. So I drove to the campus and and there's a huge crowd of people and I'm like I remember being like wow. Because like it was just a massive crowd of people to do this one Articuno raid, and I remember just being surprised that so many people like it's just a college town, and it's like wow, it's a lot of people showing up for this one bird. I didn't think there would be that many people. So needless to say, I got in. Well, once there was a lobby open, I had to wait for a lobby to be open because people were like talking amongst themselves to strategize. Like, okay, this was going, okay, okay, so this lobby goes, and then this next group of people can go. Like, we will be all. There was a conversation about taking turns, basically. So a group would go, and next group would go, and it was like a full lobby too. The one I got in was like a full lobby at that, which is a full lobby of 20. The max lobbies is 20 people, so that tells you how many people were showing up to do this one Articuno raid on the college campus. Um, and this was on a weekend, so it wasn't like there were classes going on or anything. If that helps to put things in context, it wasn't like we were running into students coming and going from classes. This was like a Saturday or a Sunday, so not a lot of foot traffic or whatever from professors or students or in between staff, whatever. So that was a lot easier. A lot easier to do that. This is about 40 people. So yeah, that's a standout. Yeah, that'll be a standout as far as raids. Doing in person and seeing a huge group of people just like waiting to jump into the lobby.
Yeah, that's one thing I remember too, especially for me. A lot of my early raids were at Kuzler Park here. Every time I'd go to a raid, there'd always be like tons of people, and you would be like, "Oh, raid must be over there because that's where everybody's at," and so you just follow the crowd. And it would be great when there would be like 3 or 4 raids because you just have like this mass of people meeting up at one gym. Everybody gets done, and then they all start migrating to the next gym and then to the next one, and it was always awesome. But I know as far as like my first raid, I do remember it exactly. I had no idea what raids were. Naturally, Ian was the one that introduced them to me. We were, I don't know if you remember this, Ian. You and I had gone to Kimma's friend's house to hang out. And we were going to go, we had to run to the mall because I want to get my cookies while I was down there. And when we were on our way back, we saw that there was a raid about to hatch. And we were like,
That was one of the first days that raids existed too.
yeah, yeah. And you'd already done a few with Kyle at that point. And I
Yeah.
was like, I have no idea what this is. And you're like, all right, it's really easy. Let's just go. Because it wasn't a tough one. I think it was like a 2 or 3 star. And we got over there, and I don't even remember what it was. It was probably like an Aerodactyl or something. I remember it wasn't something that if I had the chance to rate it now, I would. But um, I know that we beat it. And then uh, I was like, that's really weird. So basically, you just come up and you just tap the screen over and over until it's done. But we beat it the first time, and then I remember not learning that you do need help on a lot of those raids, especially since I was a lower level than you guys. Because I do remember going into a 3 star raid once by myself when I was like a level 25. That did not end well. Um, but yeah, it's that's been a big thing. Raids and really kind of to piggyback off that. the addition on the addition, which occurred during the pandemic era of everything, was the addition of remote raids, which we discussed we were going to get into, and I guess now's as good a time as any since we're talking about raids. With remote raids, essentially what they did was, since people couldn't get out really, or you really didn't want to get out with everything that was going on, this gave people the ability to jump into raids without actually leaving their home. So if you saw a raid on your map nearby, you could just hop in from there. Eventually, I don't think they had it right away. It took like a week or two for them to add it, but the ability to invite people from like further distance. So say if I'm in PA, Brian's in West Virginia, Ian's down in Maryland, I come up on a raid, I say, hey guys, here's this raid. I can invite the two of them and we all do it together, even though we're in 3 different spots. And this kind of relied heavy on like Pokemon Go chats to organize, because you've got people all over, but it definitely changed the dynamic, and as Ian will probably get into, had a major effect on the social status of the game. So Ian, I'll let you go ahead and delve into that further, because I know this is something that is both a positive and a negative as far as the gameplay.
Absolutely. Remote raids changed the directory of the game. And I know that Niantic was not really big in it, but I think that it held your fan base together during the COVID, during the big times, during the quarantines and stuff like that. However, to me, and I'm not speaking for the Pokemon Go community, because I'm sure a lot of people love just having the remote raid passes. But to me, one of the big things I remember about Pokemon Go was meeting new people. So when it first started in Cockeysville, I can tell you I knew people from work. That's how Colby and I met at PayPal. I knew my roommates, which one of them, Derek, was from PayPal, and the other one was a college friend that I've had that ended up working at PayPal. So, most of the people I knew in Cockeysville were from PayPal, right? And, so when raids first became a thing, and even before legendary raids, but raids became a thing, we had little groups on Facebook, the Facebook group. And you'd be like, hey, there's a level 4 Charizard raid. Who would like to do it? And you get people on there, and they would be like, hey, we realize that Facebook groups are probably not the easiest or the best ways to do things eventually, because people will respond 6 hours after the damn raids happen going, hey, I just saw this is still going on. No, look at the time. And that's what caused people to use Facebook Messenger, which I'm pretty sure Facebook benefited, because I don't think anybody used Facebook Messenger before. It was one of those things. So especially in the Cockeysville area, we had a group of hardcore players, and then a lot of people that just wanted to learn how to raid. The one big drawback from Facebook Messenger, and I don't know if it still has this, but it was a 250 person limit. And so we'd constantly be like, who's not doing this anymore? Someone else wants to join. Who do we kick out? Who's not doing it? And we got some people angry. A lot of things happened. But I just remember the Messenger group, like just having the Messenger constantly open, and people being like, hey, who wants to go on Frog on Turtle? And at that point, everybody knew where Frog on Turtle is. I know people listening to this podcast, maybe one or two of you might know where Frog on Turtle is. But for the people in that group, everybody knew where Frog on Turtle was. So we'd all congregate there. One of the big things was the raid train. I talked about this before. And we got to precise raid train. And this is what people trying to get to level 40. This is how I got to level 40. So one of the big things with the raid trains is you put on a lucky egg and you hit as many raids as possible. If you don't catch the legendary within the first 5 attempts, just run away from it. It sounds like you're wasting a raid pass, but you're actually gaining a lot of experience and you're gaining a lot of items. It does suck that you ran away from a legendary. The only time you don't run away is a legendary if you knew it was a hundo, or a really ridiculously good one. But everything else, so we would be down in Baltimore, and I had this group, a hardcore group. There was 3 trucks worth of people, and we go to the raid and we plan out the raid path. And we get to the first raid. Everybody gets to the first raid. All right, everybody, go in. Everybody goes and beats the raid. Everybody goes, and while we are battling the raid, says all you really need to do is be battling the raid to move to the next gym. So our driver would already be going towards the next gym while you're battling the raid. You defeat the raid, you make it quick, and then you jump into the next raid, basically. Heal up your Pokemon in the lobby and do it again. And we would hit 30 to 40 raids in a day.
I remember doing
this.
That. I remember doing that for the birds.
Oh, when they were shiny? Yeah. But we did it just for XP, specifically, like, put on it and like figure out where, and we have like these apps telling us like, hey, there's a raid going on here, there's an raid going on here, and you would just map it and be like, okay, there's 6 raids right here. All right, you want to go to this one because it has the least amount of time, and then we want to go to this one, and we had it all planned. With remote raid passes, as great as it is, you don't have that, like, you have it on the chat still. You have like the chat going, hey, who wants to do a raid? But you don't see people anymore. Like the people in our chat that we have, we specifically have a Pokemon Go chat that ironically started with just you and me, and branched out to being a legitimate Pokemon Go chat. And we have people in different countries now in this chat. I don't know where they came from or how they came to be, but we got random people from different countries.
Those are Donna, I believe, that got.
But like, how do you know? Like, how did she get? Like I don't even know. I can't even like.
She was in, I think, and I know 2 from her out of England, and then there were a few.
There's a couple in like Europe or Asia, right?
Yeah, like China,
and Japan.
Japan. Okay.
So. Yeah, like the fact that we have a bunch of people that I'll probably never meet in my life in our group, and it's like that's cool and everything. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, like to me, the factor of Pokemon Go and the reason why Pokemon Go differs from any other Pokemon game, because if you know me, I really like Pokemon, so I could play any Pokemon game, right? And like Sword and Shield, I could play that whenever I want at home. I could play Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I could play Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. I can play Legends Arceus. I can play any of that, but at home, right? If I wanted Pokemon Go to be another home game, like that to me is not really worth it, right? Like it's not. That's why like I kind of lost interest in some of the game, and it's not on anybody's fault, right? Like why would you go waste gas to go to a gym when you could just remote to that gym? And I think that's a big thing that kind of changed the trajectory, right? Like. You have like, and I get it, like they're trying to make it now that it's only like half the damage if you're remote raiding and stuff like that. But ultimately, I think that it takes away, and I know Niantic has always said this, like, their whole thing is they want you to explore, they want you to go out and see new things. And that's a great sentiment. Not what people are going out to do most of the time, but I think that like I said, Cockeysville, I met a lot of people that I never met. Like our friends Eddie and Dennis. Eddie actually went to school with me. I never knew him. I knew his younger brother, but I never knew him. I had met him at a raid. Ironically, they waited for me to get off of work in Baltimore, and it was up all the way up in Hunt Valley. And I remember I had never met these people, and we had all talked about doing like this Articuno and Lugia raid. And eventually, my friend Alex, who was playing. And everything like that, we were all at this one at Chick-fil-A in Hunt Valley, and they waited on me, and we were trying to figure out who everybody was. And I went to this car, and I saw this blue hair. I think Dennis had blue hair at the time. Definitely did not look like their Facebook pictures, whatever it was. I was just like, hey, you guys here waiting for the raid? Like, because you never know, right? Like, you're just going off of like things, and you're just like, hey, and and it's funny, like they became, and sad I haven't seen them in like a year now, but like. Like we would used to go out, like Eddie would just be like, hey, Ian, hop in the car. We're going to Gettysburg, or hey, we're going to Baltimore. Like the friends you make. And then Joppa. When I went to Joppa, Kyle and I moved to Joppa, all our friends were in Cockeysville. But who wants to travel 35 minutes every day to go to Pokemon, especially when there's a Kyogre just sitting in the gym right across the street from where you live? So we couldn't think, we had to find new people. So we joined the Joppa or the Hartford Pokemon Go group on, and no one has started. Like they started I'm trying to think what other, it wasn't Discord. It was another app that they used. for it, and it wasn't popular. A lot of people lived in the Edgewood, and it just wasn't popular. So I remember like Kevin, who started our Pokemon Go chat in Cockeysville, where it grew to where we were kicking people out. Started Messenger, and I think Messenger was just one of the easiest ways to do anything. So I created a Messenger. I met with two people I never, her name's Sierra, and then I'm trying to think of who Tony, I think his name is. I don't even know if he plays the game anymore, but it was Tony, Sierra, myself, and Kyle, and we started the very first Facebook Messenger Joppa Pokemon group, and it is now over, I think, 180 some members. And I don't use that group anymore because I don't live in Joppa, but I still was the creator of it, so I still have it. I don't pay attention to it too much, but I could not tell you 90% of the people in that chat. But just to think that chat started with just 4 people, random people that, and then it grew. And I did meet a lot of people. One of my arch rivals, Jason, who would kick me out of every gym possible because he's Valor and I'm Mystic. And ironically, like, I guess we are all just Mystic here. So we don't really have the Valor or Instinct. We do Colby and I have Valor and Instinct accounts, but our main account, is Mystic. And it's the only one I've been using recently. Like, I think I signed on to like 4 accounts today just to man up a gym with with me.
Jeez.
It's the first time I tried into the Transfer Kings since labels were out. I don't know how long ago that was, but apparently it's telling me, hey, there's a new feature called labels. I'm like, I feel like that's been out for like a year and a half.
It's the thing about having alternate accounts.
Oh yeah, I don't use my alternate accounts anymore, really, but like I have like 10 alternate accounts. If I ever got back into the game, really, that was the big thing. If I ever got back in the game, it does help to have alternate accounts, right? Like, it does help with having that extra person in the raid and stuff like that. I still need to sign into my second alt, or my first alt, because that one I got the Mew quest on, and that one I want the shiny Mew for home, because you can't get shiny Mew in anywhere except for the Pokemon Go. So I got the one on my main account, and I want to send one to home, and so I did 2 Kanto tours for the shiny Mew. I just never finished the one on the Instinct account that I had. I think when I logged in today, I still have to send like 50 gifts, but I don't have anybody to send them to. So I still have 50 gifts to send. And that's only step one of like 4 steps. So
I was wondering why I got a gift today from No Name Taken 11.
Yeah.
And to put in context, when Ian says home, he's referring to the
Pokemon Home. That is
Home for the Nintendo Switch, for those who don't know.
Yes. When you transfer, that's obviously a new addition. Just in the last year or 2, I think it was beginning of last year that they brought in home. Allows you to transfer Pokemon Cotton Go to home, with the exception of like special event Pokemon they're wearing costumes or hats or stupid shit.
Yeah, stupid things.
Like
ironically, I just traded for one of them.
Your shiny hat Pikachu.
Well, I just got a lucky shiny Dawn hat Piplup, because someone at work was like, I heard you really like Piplup, and so I traded him a shiny Dust Noir and it was the first, like, it cost us like 20K, because it was obviously we had just became unique friends. Yeah. And, but I wasn't able to trade him like one he didn't have, so he had to have had, I think, a shiny Dust Noir at one point, because that was not the 100K or whatever it would cost, or $1 million. I think it's $1 million with only 1 heart or whatever. So he didn't have $1 million. I would have had $1 million Stardust, but he did not have $1 million Stardust. And we ended up going lucky too. But mine was this really crappy 80%, like the lowest of lucky you could possibly get. But I was like, I can never do anything with this Piplup other than just have it in Pokemon Go. I can't send it to home, because home doesn't exist with a shiny Piplup with a Dawn hat. I would love that, but it doesn't exist.
I'd like to add that with home, since we're talking about things that can't be transferred, earlier today, actually, I was doing the Daily Lure, or Daily Instance, which is another new addition, very new. It's only been like the last month. I just happened to have that on while I was out, and I got a shiny Butterfree with a bow tie. So because it's got the little bow tie, or I guess maybe it's
It's gonna be stuck in Go forever.
stuck and go forever. Yeah. So that
Making you
is
buddy.
I probably should. But yeah, that's one thing. But what I was starting to say with Pokemon Home is once you transfer the Pokemon from Go into Home, you can then use them on Switch games such as Sword and Shield. Is Arceus? You can use them in Arceus, right?
As long as they exist in the Arceus desk. Like that's how I got. So what I did was I took a bunch of my shiny starters, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott. Unfortunately, I don't have a shiny Rowlet, but and then I just evolved them in Hisui and got the Hisuian forms of not Decidueye, but of Typhlosion and Samurott. So I got the shiny versions from Pokemon Go.
Nice.
So that's so as long as it's in the decks of them, there's a lot of Pokemon currently that still don't exist on Switch games, and the only way you can transfer them into Let's Go Pikachu Eevee is if they're Gen 1, and you have to directly send it to Pikachu or Eevee. You cannot send it to Home first because then they will be like, no, it's not compatible with Let's Go.
Gen 1, or it can be a Meltan too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a
really weird Pokemon that was also created just because of Pokemon Go.
And you can't evolve it anywhere else either. So if you want a Melmetal on your team, you can't take your Meltan. I mean, you could get it to a level 100, but you're not going to get that Melmetal ever. You had to do it in Pokemon Go, and unfortunately for you, if you wanted that Meltan to evolve, you're never going to get it to evolve because you can never send stuff from Home back to Pokemon Go. So that Meltan will forever be a level 100 Meltan. You will never get that to Melmetal because the only way you can evolve it is Pokemon Go. And the only way to get it to Pokemon Go is, well, you can't. Sorry.
Yeah, there is no sending back. So if you do decide you want to do Pokemon Home and send stuff over, you better make sure that's your final decision because it's not coming back to Go unless they change their mind, which I don't see that ever happening because there's too much to work with and to figure out with that. If they get really desperate, they might, but I don't think that's happening. But another thing that you kind of casually glossed over there that is also new since the game came out is trades. And I've actually got something a little later we were going to talk about, but I think we'll kind of group it all together here. So obviously when the game came out, we didn't have trades. If you caught a Pokemon, it was yours or you transferred it. That was basically your options. You didn't have
get them candies.
Yep. That was all you could do. Now you have trades. We had the introduction of lucky trades. So for those who may not be aware of what that is, if you are lucky with someone or if you trade and it becomes lucky afterwards, it basically guarantees that you have an is it 80 and up IV, I believe?
In trades or in lucky?
In lucky trades.
In lucky is 80% and higher.
Right. So you're guaranteed at least an 80%. It's always nice to get a hundo out of that, but the nice thing with luckies is once you have a lucky Pokemon, it reduces the cost of candy and Stardust to power it up as well. So that's always good. That's another good reason to hope for a good one because it's a lot cheaper to power up. Yeah, the trade system in general has been hit or miss. I think the one thing I'll add that I've said we'd probably mention later, but I'll cover now, is I really would love to see them add distance trading. I think when trading was originally added to the game, there was still a lot of local playing. There wasn't remote raids at the time. It was a lot of people meeting up and trading and everything, so that's fine. That works. But now that we've got remote raids, and especially with 2020 people not being able to get out, a lot of people have met people all around the world. Like you said, we've got people in our chat from Japan, from Europe. I've made friends on Pokemon Go raid apps from Korea, from South America, from Australia, like all over. And I'm lucky with a guy in Brazil right now. And I have no way to do a lucky trade with him because I have no idea who he is, first off. So I would need a way to contact him. But Even if I did, there's no way we would be able to trade without, getting around borders, and I don't want to do that. I don't like the thought of spoofing just to do a trade. But that's really to me, the biggest negative is not having that ability. But overall trades, it is good that they added it, because that was one of the things that they promised they were adding for months and months.
At the start of the
months.
game.
Yeah.
At the start of the game, trades was supposed to be a thing, because trade was always Pokemon in itself. The reason why there was 2 versions of the game, why there was regional, or why there was copy exclusives, game exclusives, and why there's regional exclusives in Pokemon Go, was for the trade mechanic, because they wanted you to go meet people. They wanted you to interact with other people. So going to your elementary or middle school and going, hey, look what I caught. Look at this Mewtwo. Would you like it for, like, I don't know, a rare Pokemon like Lickitung? I don't know, like a Pidgey. That was the point in the games. That's what the link cables for the Game Boy was, and it was always a factor. Everybody's like, Pokemon's just out to make money. Absolutely. Any company that's out there is out to make money, so don't give me that. But there are other reasons for having games, multiple games, each version, red, blue, gold, silver. The reason for that is to entice people to trade. They don't expect people like me to buy both games and try to trade with myself. All right, they wanted you to go out to meet other people to trade.
People like you who have 2 devices to play the 2 games at the same time to trade yourself.
Absolutely. That is 100% what they weren't expecting. But it was in the intentions of trading. Now, distance trade, again, it could be like remote raid passes. I understand, like, there is a need for us to be able to trade at a distance, but at the same time, like, they don't want it to become like, oh, you need a Tropius, but you don't want to go to Africa. Oh, here you go. But then they kind of negate that by putting it in a Safari Zone event, or a Go Fest event. Like, hey, that regional Pokemon that you can't catch over there, now you can catch it over here. And you're like, oh, I guess I'll just wait for them to release it over here. So I mean, like, I like, at this point, there really isn't a reason for distance trading. But I think I think that what you could do to incentivize it, right, is you get less lucky trades in a distance trade. You have a lesser percentage wise to try to entice you to still go out and meet people to trade, and make it a higher percentage of lucky trades you can get with being interactive with other people.
Yeah, and I think you could even make that like a distance thing. Like, the closer you are when you do your trade, the lower your chance of a lucky. Because me trading with someone in Brazil, that could be seen as a little bit more of an exception versus me trading with you when we're like 20 minutes away from each other or something. Because that's just being lazy at that point. But yeah, it's definitely something that would be great. And having some sort of in-game chat to set that up would be great. That's something that Ian's been pounding on for a while, ever since they added trading.
And it's something that they've announced, I think 2 months ago, was that they're finally doing it, but that was like 2 months ago, and it's still not in there. And I'm sure it probably will crash the game when they first do it.
Oh,
but in the reason, like, because we do have Facebook Messenger, right? When people who created Facebook Messengers or Discord or what other apps that you could go to kind of do that stuff. But the big thing to me is in-game chat is like, I have people that I don't know who the hell you are, right? So how the hell am I going to invite you to a chat that I don't know who you are? So now it would allow me to go to that user and be like, hey, you want to trade? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, hey, slide into your DMs. That's just like that made more sense for there to be a chat feature in the app itself. But I consider it probably taking a long time, because A, it's going to crash the game. B, even when it does release, it's probably still going to crash the game. But maybe not as much as what they are right now, which is why they haven't rolled it out. But that is definitely something that I think is a need in this game. And be like, hey, we're lucky friends. I understand there's no way for you to currently contact me. So, hey, We're lucky friends. Where would you like to meet? How would you like to meet?
I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have something along those lines. But yeah, the game will probably crash whenever they implement it. But if they do work out all the kinks and bugs, it'll be great. I could finally do a lucky trade with what is it? There's a person in Germany. Uh, pretty sure there's another one in Netherlands or Brazil or something like that.
They have to add both the chat feature and the distance feature.
Yeah, they would have to do them both at the same time.
It's definitely something I think Niantic is trying to. I mean, I watched a lot of YouTubers, and I watched a lot of things that they like that happened with the game. Don't do it as much anymore because I really haven't had a lot of interest in the game as much. But I know that they have people that they're hiring for Pokemon Go that could be a community manager who's supposed to take the input of people. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but saying that it's on their radar of things that people would like as a community to be able to do, and whether they view it as a way of enhancing their game to what the game they want to do it as. Distance trade might be a long shot because to them that would take away you having to travel to go to different areas to catch these regional Pokemon. Like the intention of having a regional Pokemon is to make you go out and visit the world. Unfortunately, that's for a rich man. If I was rich, I would 100%. Don't get me wrong. If I had the money, I would be traveling the world for Pokemon Go. And being able to see all the sites that you generally wouldn't be able to. But the intention of playing Pokemon Go while visiting all the different areas. So if I was rich, 100%. I mean, what about you two? If you were rich, would you want to go travel the world?
I mean, if I'm rich, yeah, I definitely want to travel the world. I definitely want to travel. I've been out I've been out the country before. I would love to travel around and just see different parts of the world. I mean, playing Pokemon Go in other parts of the world is like a bonus because the real thing is for me would be to actually see these other places and
oh, there's the pyramids. Oh, there's a gym.
I mean, well, yeah, that more or less, but but yeah, it would be fun to travel around and all that, but until then, you kind of live vicariously through these Pokemon YouTubers, at least the popular ones, anyway.
The ones that can actually travel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd 100% travel, but I wouldn't be traveling the countries just so I'd be like, I gotta eat the regional. That's the only reason why I'm here. Because then, with my luck, I'd get off the airplane. The regional would be right there. I'd be like, all right, I'm turning around and leave. So.
Well, no, that's not the only reason you go there, but like it would tell her where.
You want to do some raids. You want to do some raids while you're there too.
I mean, it would be a bonus. It would just be.
Hey, you need to get those eggs from Europe so you can get a Mime Junior.
Look, I already have a shiny Mime Junior. I'm good.
Oh, you lucky.
I do not. Well, I do have a shiny Mime Junior, just not in Pokemon Go.
Pretty sure I watched that stream when you got that. I remember you like getting chased by all the little Mime Juniors and how creepy it was.
But
yeah, so that's definitely the big stuff. Now, one other thing I kind of wanted to drop in here, and Brian, I'll probably lean on you a little more for this because you have more experience with this than Ian and I do, is the PvP features that they've added to Pokemon Go, which PvP wasn't a thing when the game started. That was another thing like trades that they said was going to happen start, and then we didn't get it for like 2 or 3 years.
I don't even know which PvP features specifically, though.
Well, so overall, being like, so of course, when you first started the game, it was getting 20 million experience points overall to get to level 40, right? Yeah. Now you need 178 million experience from level 0 to level 50. Yeah. So the amount of experience points, but they added something beyond that because a lot of people already hit that. Brandon Tan, which is a popular YouTuber, but also the greatest Pokemon Go player in the history of Pokemon Go. He hit level 40 in 1 month. And that was back when you could catch with Pidgeys and Rattatas. All
Didn't have
right.
the you didn't
He
have
didn't
the advantage
have,
of having raids that gave you 10,000
yeah,
XP.
he didn't have raids. He didn't have anything like that, but he was the quickest to max out the number of experience points because they didn't know that people would get that much experience points. They had to, like, when they updated the thing, they had to re-update his thing so he actually had exactly how much experience points he had because he was capped. He was capped. So because they knew that there were players like Brandon Tan out there when they eventually released level 50, which was what, 2020?
Yep, it was during
Yeah.
the summer of 2020, I believe.
2020, when they released level 50, which was a long time coming because everybody was like, all right, well, most people are level 40 now. What are we going to do? Are we just going to stay for level 40 forever? A lot of people have that XP. So instead of just making it just an XP grind, they made it so you had tasks that you had to do for every level. And so the overall thing about why PvP is important is because I have to kind of do it now. To be able to get from level 49 to level 50, you had to reach a rank 10 in PvP. PvP, for people that don't understand PvP, is player versus player. This was introduced later in the game. A lot of people wanted that right from the beginning. To me, I was never a big fan of PvP because it's not like what you would expect, like a Pokemon with strategy. Like, there's some strategy, but there's not like you what move you're gonna move or whatever.
It doesn't quite have the chess match feel that the games have,
like the main series games. So it's just basically you tapping and then making sure that the faster you tap, I guess, and picking moves that like allow you to charge up faster, and then also shields. You get 2 shields during those things, so use them wisely or don't use them wisely. I don't care, whatever. So like for me to get to level 50, I will have to rank 10. This is the first time I've played PvP in, I don't know, since PvP first started. And I think I'm level rank 5 and I kind of already quit. But I gotta eventually hit the rank 10. It's just one of those things. And
it also resets after so many weeks too.
yeah,
so
I need to do it before this. I have the free pass that they gave you, so it has a countdown of like, I know I'm not going to hit all the goals that they want you to hit, like 100 wins and stuff like that. The hell if I'm going to hit 100 wins, but for all the Stardust. But yes, I will eventually have to hit. I think it's like 40 days left on this stupid thing, or 30 some days left. So I eventually have to do it, or just restart again and then make my life miserable again for all this. So I do have to reach rank 10. A lot of the things I had to do, like a lot of the things that people complain is the excellent throws, 999 excellent throws. But if you're me, I get excellent throws in my sleep. All right. And I
brag about it. Why don't you?
Absolutely. And the thing is like, I need XP. So you know what gives you XP? Excellent throws. 1,000 with just a regular excellent throw. Curveball adds another 20. Plus, if it's the first catch or whatever, you can get like 1,200 XP from one Pokemon throwing in an excellent throw. Out of Lucky Egg, you can get 2,000 some. And then, if you play during those double XP events, 4,000 some. So there's so much value in that, and so I don't care that I have to throw 999. I think I'm already at 330, and I barely play the game. So
I will say, in fairness with that goal, the 999, even if it does seem overwhelming, you need so much experience to get from 49 to 50 that you're gonna probably get that before you get the experience anyway. Just because,
easily, unless you already have the experience.
Yeah.
Between raids and catching Pokemon for different events and community days, you can definitely hit the 900 mark. You'll hit it eventually because you're catching Pokemon for community day, like all these events and community days and special research encounters. Like I wouldn't like for someone new or whatever. Don't let that like overwhelm you. Like because you'll get there sooner than later just playing these events and stuff.
Yeah, just grind. That's like the goal to this game if you want to level up is grinding.
Yeah. You don't have to think too much about it. it's something you should. It's more like something that could be in the back of your mind, really, because as you play, you'll gain XP or you'll get the throws or whatever.
Absolutely. Talking about community day, right? That's a perfect segue for what is a community day. So if you haven't played Pokemon Go since 2016, community day didn't exist back in 2016. So community day started, I think, in 2018 or 2019. One of those. I think it was 2018. I remember the first one was in January, and it was a Pikachu, and we didn't know what a community day was. All we knew was that Pikachu was going to spawn more frequently in the wild. So I remember the first community day ever. A bunch of us in the Cockeysville Pokemon Go group found a park because they suggested that you find a park. Patterson Park.
January of 2018, by the way.
2018. So like, and so we went to Patterson Park, which was also a Wailmer nest at the time, and since Gen 3 had just been released, Wailmer is another 400 candy Pokemon that you needed to get. So of course we went to get the Wailmer. At that point, things that that's been added since 2016 again was shiny Pokemon, right? Like you couldn't find a shiny Pokemon at any point. 2017 they had a water event, which I didn't really play, and that was during the time when you could get shiny Magikarp, the only Pokemon that could be shiny in the game. And then later in the year, they released Shiny Pikachu. So Shiny Pikachu was the second Pokemon that could ever be caught in the thing. And I remember what that happened because there was a Pikachu nest down at Merryweather Post Pavilion, and Alex, his girlfriend, Kristen, which we named Snacky in the back. That's her Pogo name, and my friend Kevin, and I believe there was someone else, all piled in the car, went to Merryweather Post Pavilion and did the little route to catch all the Pikachus. And ironically, I did get my first shiny that night. It was not a Pikachu. It was a Magikarp, the one Magikarp that is lonely spawned in that area. And if you asked Alex or Kristen or anything, they thought it was hilarious because I literally shrieked when I saw the shiny Magikarp. It wasn't the shiny Pikachu, but I was like, oh my god, what? I was like, and they're like, what? And I was just like, they saw this because they had all caught shiny Magikarp at that point. I was the only one in the car that didn't have a shiny. And that was that goes my luck too. Like my luck is very bad, but unlike Brian's over here. But community days, we didn't know the first community day that there was an increased chance of shinies at first. So we went down to Patterson Park, and when it turned, I think it was 2 to 5 that day. It turned 2 o'clock. Pikachu started spawning everywhere, and lo and behold, my first shiny Pikachu. Because Kyle and I went back to Merryweather, I think a week after the one I got shiny Magikarp, and he got shiny Pikachu at that point, and and that was my first. Kyle always gets the shiny before me. So we were there at the, and I got 5 shiny Pikachus, and I was like, this is unreal. And come to find out that 5 shiny Pikachus is nothing. But at that point, like I felt good. I was like, I got 5 shiny Pikachus. Oh my god, like that's crazy.
Now if you got a shiny Pikachu, you probably curse it out and be like, damn it.
Especially ones with hats.
Well, now it's a more common thing, or whatever. It's not as rare. It's more common to.
Well, it's not even just rare. It's the fact that you now know what community day is. You now know that there is an increased chance of shinies. You now know that you probably shouldn't walk around a park if you want shinies. You should probably drive around areas with a lot of spawns and just click on everything. But those are things that you will learn as a community day. But the big thing about community days is like the one day that I go out. And to me now, I've like when we lived in Cockeysville, eventually we stopped going to Patterson Park after like the first 2 community days where we barely did anything. And then we went to Havre de Grace for Bulbasaur, and I caught 1 shiny Bulbasaur. And that made me angry. While everybody else had caught, like in Cockeysville, I remember my friend Ryan had like 30 Bulbasaur, shiny Bulbasaurs. And I'm like, what is this? This is ridiculous. So I bounced off Havre de Grace forever. But you know, and so we went to Cockeysville, and of course Mareep was the next one. And I got like 6 shiny Mareep. And then he got like 20, and I was trying to figure out why, because we were again just walking around the town center, and he was driving around the Cockeysville area. So then eventually, when we figured that out, we eventually got more shinies, and that's the key in shinies is just going around and as many spawns as you could possibly get during those 3. Eventually, during COVID, 6, and now back to 3-hour events like Litwick Community Days will be coming up next Saturday, Saturday. Yes, next Saturday. And so I will probably be at the college. That's my new favorite place, is Essex Community College.
Actually, it's
Um,
actually not this coming Saturday, but Saturday after. So
is it the Saturday after? All right. So like, and
15th.
the 15th, and so that was where I'll most likely be. And also during that time, I'm gonna have overtime during work, so I'll be tired. But I will get those shiny Litwicks. I think the last event I got, I like to say 30 some shinies at the college, so I did pretty well for myself. 35. I think I got 35 shinies, and that was Roggenrola. So I have a lot of Roggenrola. So anybody that needs a shiny Roggenrola, come at me. I got a bunch of them.
And
I can trade you some.
That's the perfect Pokemon to trade too, because that eliminates the candy. you need.
200 candies, yeah, that you need to evolve it with. But yeah, monthly community days have definitely been a thing. Everybody's waiting to see what the next shiny is going to be. Of course, if there's a Weedle day, everybody complains because it's not worth anything. I didn't mind Weedle when it first came out because they didn't have the shiny in the game.
Right.
But after you catch
You just admitted you like Weedle. So
No,
the trade I
no.
made you,
not
I know
during
you've
that
been-
time, because I already had 30 some Weedles and you traded me a shiny Weedle. I was like, I don't need, all right, like, look, I needed 3.
Look,
all right.
I
That's
believe
all
the
I
last
needed.
words you said were trade me whatever, I'll take it.
I'm pretty sure I would have taken a regular damn Pokemon rather than a shiny Weedle. But regardless, community days are always fraught with like, oh my god, why are they doing a Pokemon like Dino? Because that's rare and I have it and no one else does, so no one else deserves it. To the, why are they doing Weedle? It's a worthless Pokemon. No one wants that fucking Pokemon. So like, there's like always like a mixed reaction from the community or what.
Yeah.
I don't know what the people feel about Litwick. I like it because I don't have the shiny of Litwick, and I would love to have it. And I actually like the shiny Litwick, blue Candle Flame, and then orange Candle Flame for the evolution Chandelure. Like, I like the shiny, and I would probably use it in a playthrough of Sword and Shield because then I could use Roggenrola for the first time and Litwick in a shiny version of that, because I'm not going to be able to find them in the game because my luck in Sword and Shield is really bad too. So, I can start off with the shinies and make them disobey me at an early level, but that would be fun.
Can't make everybody happy, so
You can't, and there's no point in trying. Like Axew again, and now I have 2 shiny Axews, and if I go back and play Black and White 2, I could eventually get a shiny Haxorus because it's free in the game. I just never get that far. So they do have a free shiny Haxorus in Black and White 2. So I could potentially get a shiny Haxorus. The same with like shiny Gyarados and Gold, Silver, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Like I never got that far where I caught a shiny Gyarados. So my first shiny Gyarados is from either Pokemon Go or from the weird Sword and Shield event that they had, where like almost every raid den was a shiny Magikarp. But yeah, community days are awesome. I think that like you build up candies, extra large candies if you're level 40 and above, to max out your Pokemon. You get a lot of Stardust, or like they have multipliers that day. So whether it's like extra bonus Stardust or extra bonus candies or extra bonus time hatching, which I don't know why you would want to hatch during community day, takes away your spawns. But yeah, they have those events, and a lot of people still go out for that. If you're at the college, you'll see some people walking, and most people just driving around like you, and they're there at this on a Saturday, so it's not a event at school. Sometimes, well, the one time we did go there, and there was an event at school that was really bad.
Graduation.
But for the most part, if you see a car slowly driving around the campus, that's a Pokemon Go player. And they're most likely looking at the same spawns you're looking at.
Yeah. Same here on my end. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do that to like on the college campus here. You can tell on the community day who's playing, because they'll be driving I don't drive in loops the whole time. Like I'll park in the spot and just spin a few stops or walk around a little bit and then go back to the car or just catch whatever's there. And while I'm doing that, I'll see the other people driving, either they're driving like slow, or they'll like kind of stop in the middle of the road, like going through campus, they'll stop in the middle of the road for a little bit. And like, oh, okay, he's definitely playing. Like you can, yeah, like Ian said, you can definitely tell who's playing Pokemon Go on the campus.
Well, obviously, events have been a big thing that they've added since the game started. Community days, we get those every month. Um, it's always a big thing about the community trying to guess what the community day of Pokemon will be. About the only thing we ever know in advance is that December will be a 2-day event of everything from the year prior uh, being available, and usually they put like the stuff from the year before in raids that you can
That's
do.
the
So,
trend.
uh, but there's been other stuff. I know obviously to try to get people to travel, they hold events in certain cities. I think the closest one to us was Philadelphia, which of course got postponed, and we ended up not going because of COVID. But you get safari zones, which basically they put in a city. Um, you have increased shiny rates on certain Pokemon, certain rare Pokemon spawns, such as regional variants, uh, certain unknowns like specific letters. Uh, we get the annual Go Fest, which takes place usually in the summertime. I know this last year they had that in, was it was that Go Fest or was that it started June and ended last month, I
So
believe.
it was GoFest. And the thing is, they had multiple ones. When GoFest first started, it was a huge event. That was before Legendaries, because that's when the red Legendary Pokemon were
It
released during
was
GoFest.
right
But it was
because that
only in
was
Chicago.
yeah, yeah.
But now they've branched it out a little bit. So they had one in Seattle, I think, this year. One in
Seattle in the U.S., one in South Korea. I think there was one in Japan as well, and then
and
one
Italy, I think, or something, somewhere in Europe. Um,
company.
Yeah.
So like they had different ones, but then they also have now with COVID, and I think that's something that like definitely helped out the community too. Is you can buy a pass no matter where you are. You won't have, I guess, the same experience of going and visiting the cities, but you can just catch all the Pokemon spawns in your area. So you can go to wherever you would technically for community day and just go catch these spawns in the wild as long as you bought a pass for it. And they have special like raids you can do and shiny luck and stuff like that for these events for GoFest. And I think that really turned people on because being able, A, you can only fit so many people in Chicago if it was always Chicago. B, the first year was such a disaster because they didn't have enough self service, so people couldn't log into the game. So if you were there, the ability for you.
Uh-oh.
Well, that was abrupt.
Sorry about that, folks. We had a little bit of a technical glitch there. Lost Ian. Anyway, Ian, we were talking about GoFest. You were discussing about there being terrible experience the first year in Chicago and how it's a little bit better now. We've spread it out. Was there anything else you wanted to add on that?
I think like, and don't get me wrong, I one day would love to go to an event like GoFest that was like obviously with better self service, but like the fact that they had tents and people meeting and like they concluded the YouTubers, which a lot of people now know as personalities, and you got to meet and greet and then hang out with people and just meet people from all around the world, and be able to spend. I would love that experience. Unfortunately, I don't know when the next time I'm going to be able to afford to go somewhere like Chicago or something like that. But just the idea of being able to do that would be really awesome, and meet a lot of people and see people. I did meet two YouTubers um, during Philly Free Streets. It wasn't really a Pokemon Go event. It's Philly Free Streets. If people don't understand, this is the city of Philadelphia. Every year they close down like a certain amount of streets for people just to walk. And Pokemon Go goes, hey, you know what? We'll add some unknowns there.
It made
And but I don't think they actually did that during that one. They did it during the Safari event, but they didn't do it like everybody was expecting them to do it. But instead, that was during the holiday event, Halloween, because it's always in October when they do it. And Kyle, of course, got 2 shiny Duskulls, and I got 0 shiny Duskulls. That was the first year shiny Duskull was released. Eventually, they would have a community day for it, but not the point. Not the point. So that was a cool experience, and two, one doesn't even do Pokemon Go. I don't think content anymore. His name is Reversal. He's from somewhere in Switzerland, Norway, somewhere
that was
up
another.
that way. Netherlands, yeah, something like that. Somewhere in Europe. And then Pokemon Master Holly, who used to live in Philadelphia, that's why she was there. I think she now lives somewhere in the West Coast now. But yeah, we got to meet. I got to meet them. I got pictures taken with them and everything like that. But it was a cool event. But it was definitely not a Pokemon Go hosted event, I should say. So I still want to go to one of them. I really hope the self service doesn't suck if I ever do afford to go to someplace and be able to do everything.
And really, the only other type of events, obviously, they do a lot of like theme stuff to try to keep people playing. Like right now, we're in the middle of Fashion Week, where it's like fashion themed Pokemon, or you'll get Pokemon wearing stupid hats that can't be transferred to home, or different.
Sunglasses or something.
Right.
Eyes, yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Absol with the sunglasses. They did at least have Furfrou who can be shiny, so I guess that's something. But which Brian, of course, Mr. Shiny, does have one of those already. So congrats.
Of course he would.
I mean, I was catching them, so I was bound to get one eventually.
Ian says the same thing, but it doesn't happen. So
I don't know. That's his luck, and that's his luck versus mine. I don't know.
But these,
see, this is why you're Mr. Shiny.
Oh well. Anyhow, so and speaking of shinies, I actually caught like the shiny costume Corilla today earlier today.
Curlia. Oh,
Yeah,
they're gonna be shiny now.
Huh?
They can be shiny.
Yep. Yeah, they were shiny the last event too when they did last year when they did Fashion Week.
That's actually something kind of brings up a good point. The shinies in this game are very weird in that usually you can only catch a shiny in the wild if it's in its like first form. If it's an evolved form, you almost always cannot catch the shiny. The exception is if it's like a special event, like in this case where they're wearing a hat or something stupid, then you can actually catch them shiny. So, and I think it's just because you can't evolve them anything else, so they're unique in that way. But that is something a little strange, but I guess it does. I don't know. I guess it gives you something to look forward to if they do special events for that stuff.
I mean, if you're a collector, it works if you like
right.
to.
Like Eddie, who collects all the Pikachus with hats.
Ooh, that's ambitious. To try to get all of them shiny is ambitious.
I think he has all but one or two of them.
Wow. Okay. So hats off to him then.
He goes hardcore though. He does go hardcore.
This is true too. You're right. I forgot. Yeah, he is a grinder for those.
But we do have different events like this. I know obviously closer to Halloween they'll have an event for that where it's a lot of like ghost type Pokemon. In February there's always a Valentine's event where it's pink shaded Pokemon. They'll always do like a summer event with water Pokemon for like a surf theme. So all sorts of different stuff. And then the only other like all day event, well, actually, I don't even have this on my notes here, but we do have raid days every once in a while. Usually once every maybe 2 or 3 months, where you'll have a whole day dedicated to doing raids for like one specific Pokemon or like a group of specific legendaries. Ian was mentioning about the raid train stuff, and I know the first raid train I did was on I think Zapdos Day. We were doing a bunch of those down around Coggiesville, and I'm pretty sure we got in like 40 raids in 3 hours. So that's another big thing they do. And then last thing on my list here, the newer event, somewhat the regional specific day that they do in February. The first one they did was in 2021 for Kanto Day. And then this year they did Johto Day. And essentially what that is a whole day dedicated to that specific region where those Pokemon spawn. All the shinies are on that day. So if there's any Pokemon in that region that have not been shiny yet, they are now able to be shiny. You have slightly increased odds. I don't think we got as many as we were expecting this year, but got a pretty decent amount. But it's kind of their way of saying, all right, this whole region is out. And now, hopefully, Hone this coming February, We can.
That's the expectation, right? Though we still haven't gotten Kecleon in the game, so it's the only regional Dex Pokemon that we don't have for the Hoenn. There's 135 different Pokemon, and that's the one we're still missing.
Seems like that'll probably be the snapshot Pokemon for that day, would be my guess.
And it can be shiny. That but yeah, it's crazy to think. Now there are two things that we haven't mentioned that are every week. Every Tuesday, I believe it's 6 o'clock.
Yep.
There is a spotlight hour, and where they take Pokemon, a random Pokemon. It could be shiny, it could not be shiny, whatever. It might be rare. But for that hour, that Pokemon spawns like a community day, except for not with the odds of community day. So it's like still basic odds of shinies, but you do have a better chance of finding it just because there's a lot more of it. So you're clicking through, like that's how I got my shiny Miltank, was going through and catching like 400 Miltanks in an hour. That was a lot of Miltanks. But the essentially like your odds are still like one. I think their base odds in Pokemon Go are 1 in 400. So I think I did the base odds of getting a shiny Miltank on that day. Yeah, those, and then Wednesdays. Every Wednesday is raid hour, where they have one raid, one specific legendary that they do. It's not the same like the ones that Colby were talking about, where it was like shiny boosted chances and all that other stuff. This is just 1 hour to raid the current legendary that is going on in that like week or 2 week format. And it just gives you more increased spawns at gyms for those raids, and they're all like an hour long like thing. So that's
And
that's
the nice
two
thing,
other things.
The nice thing about raid hour is that those spawns are for an hour, but sometimes like if there was a previous raid on that gym, or if there's some sort of like delay, sometimes they won't spawn until partially into the hour. So you'll actually still have raids going on until like 7:15, 7:30. So it's almost like an hour and a half rather than just an hour, if you get lucky or in the right area.
It is a nice bonus in that way.
I know this last one I was pretty excited with because I got a shiny Yveltal on the very first one. So
Oh, nice. I did
Yeah.
not like. I have a lot of shiny Yveltal in the game because of all the events they had back in X and Y for it. So I have Pokemon Home. I just don't have the Pokemon Go equivalent of the shiny Yveltal. What would you guys say is your favorite memory during these 6 years of Pokemon Go? Like, what would you say as a highlight that you remember that was probably like what kept you in the game, or what made you like the game so much, or what like it could be an event or a specific like shiny you found or whatever.
For me, I know I was really excited for the first Go Fest when they were making it national, because we were all excited for it. We didn't know what to expect. That even though there were the issues in Chicago, from the people that we did know that went, they still caught a lot of cool stuff. So that was something that I looked forward to, and I don't feel like it lived up to the hype the first time, but it was still a lot of fun. And outside of that, I mean, really my best memories are just hanging out and playing the game, like the whole social aspect of it. I know for me personally, I didn't play it as much probably the first year or so as you guys did, because I was dealing with a lot of health issues back then. And I remember being very appreciative when Ian would just start logging on my account and catching shit for me, because I wasn't able to leave. So that's something that I always enjoyed. But yeah, Brian, what about you?
Uh, Favorite, well, like from primarily the social stuff, because uh, in the handful of times I've like actually done some of the events with you and Ian, or being out here in the when I did move to West Virginia and seeing like how popular the game was out here, because because I was new, so I don't know I didn't know anyone or anything. So like I basically use Pokemon Go to um
Network,
uh,
network,
well
network.
well yes, network, but also to like learn the town, like as far as navigate driving around and all that. Because I would go. I mean, I had to learn about it anyway. I was living here, so but it was an added bonus to play Pokemon Go because driving around, I learned how to go to different places and stuff, and kind of learned in that way. And I had just different interact. It was just a lot of different interactions with. I did meet some cool people. I mean, these days I don't really cross paths with. I really don't cross paths with people like I used to. Every once and again, I'll see faces that I remember from back out here. Um, or if I get like to do lucky trades with someone, I'll be like, okay, well, I can go. But and I mean, and recently there was like I actually met like there was like a whole new person I met for do a lucky trade. Like I don't even remember when I added her on the game. I don't no idea I don't remember when I added the game, but we got lucky friends, and I met her for the first time in person, and that was nice. But see, that's what I mean though. Like you get to meet different people.
Oh, I will say like like back in college or in high school, your friends were basically your age, right? Like it was, and then when you go to work, you kind of meet people outside of your age, but you still tend to hang out with the people around your age because they're usually the ones with your common interests. Um, not in Pokemon Go. Not in Pokemon Go. You have uh, kids to grandparents playing this game and great grandparents playing this game, and the fact that like I would never like, and I'm not saying anything bad about it, but like I would never imagine meeting or hanging out with some of the people that I met through Pokemon Go.
I agree with that. I mean,
People like 40 years older than me that's like sitting there doing better than I am. Like the thought, like you guys were like 50 when Pokemon first came out. What do you know about Pokemon? Or like kid, like Pokemon's been out longer than you've existed. But like there's so many things I think with this game, and I think my favorite memory will always be the first day. I think like I had so many good memories in this game, like going around, traveling with people I met, going around. Like I remember the time the birds came out again, shiny Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos, and I was in Joppa at the time, and my friend Veronica, which I haven't seen in like 3 years or whatever, but like we would all get in a group and we would go places I've never been to in Essex and stuff like that to find these raids for these shiny birds and stuff like that. But I still think my favorite memory was the first day Pokemon Go ever came out, and I downloaded the app and going with Derek and Kyle out and walking around and just seeing what a phenomenon this game was, and the fact that of what impact it had on so many people. And this is before we really met anybody. Like like it was before, like really I didn't meet a lot of people until raids started, right? Like that was the big time I met people. But before raids existed, you still see people playing the game, and it was something that you never saw before. I mean, everybody, if you remember that first like month or so where in New York everybody just caused a traffic jam, just parked in the middle of the street going to get a Vaporeon in the middle of in the middle of the park. um that's the thing I'm talking about. That is what I really miss, and I know we'll never get that again. We'll never have that experience again. Like that was a one-time thing, and I was just glad to be a part of that. Like I was glad to be a part of that era where it was just like everything was just new. Yeah, the game kind of sucked compared to now, right? There was only the first generation, and out of the first generation, there was only like 4 Pokemon you could catch. So you're sitting there. But I mean, just the fact of like going out and being like, oh my god, there's a Magmar on my screen. I've never seen one. Where could it be? Oh no, it disappeared. I'm walking the wrong direction. You know, that's the first time I walked onto the golf course right behind my apartment. Like that was a nest. Who would have known? But Magmars would always appear because it was close enough. But I never knew where they were until one day I walked onto the golf course and there was a bunch of Magmars.
Pokemon
You
Go.
know, yeah, it's so.
But
I
mine
think that. I think that that's just the sheer fact of like that was the experience that like we got to be a part of, and I think at least for the three of us, like we had different factions of it, but like we all got to experience a time when like Pokemon broke everything, like literally broke everything. Like people were just like
yeah.
function.
It not only that, but also but it's like one of those rare times where like everyone's kind of on the same page and just chilling and going to hunt like like every like everyone's got this common goal or interest in this moment of time, and that was very that was fun and interesting to see at the same time, and to bringing back to the variety of ages of people you see. That you remind me like one of the I guess what the first week or two of living out here, I saw like this old couple just walking around playing the game, and that threw me. I never expect like you said before, I never expected to see a old married couple just having fun playing Pokemon Go. Like what? That was I never I did not think I would see that, and I did. I was like, that's awesome. I saw it, I was like that's pretty awesome. Like that's like the impact it had at the time, and again, yeah, not being able to, well, what being able to, that fun of chasing down stuff. You remind me of that YouTube clip where someone says it's a Dragonite. Everyone's literally rushing to where the Dragonite is to catch it.
In Santa Monica, yeah, like that's one of
Yeah.
the places I really wish I could visit.
I mean, have I been? Yeah, I've been around Santa Monica before, but I mean, that was like a guy's trip or whatever, so different context altogether. But, but yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, at least back then it would have been interesting to be in that moment of something rare. Not that I haven't seen. Well, there's a little bit of that here, at least through Discord, because I wasn't always looking at Discord, so I probably would have missed a rare spawn and whatnot. But I have gone out before to chase down like rare spawns, or if someone reported a hundo that I just wanted to go get. I did like I remember running. I remember like dipping out of here at night to drive across town to catch like a hundo Flareon. And it was so out here. There's a park. It's called White Park, and from where my apartment is, that's like pretty much across town. But when I drove out to go after it, it was about now in terms of the time in the evening, around 10, 9 in the evening. Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go see.
Oh, when the truckers were around, Eddie and I would go out at night. We'd be out all hours of the day, being like hundo here, hundo there. I mean, I wasted so much gas and so much time, but like, oh my god, that was experience.
You played harder than me and Kobe did.
I did for a long time, and now you guys have kind of taken over the reins of Pokemon Go from me. I've kind of like only played during events and sporadically like sign into my account, but like you guys are now the ones, and I don't have my 10 alternate accounts that I used to play hardcore on. Like community day, I'd be signing out of accounts and trying to get as many accounts shinies. Now I'm just like, no, I only have one account. That's all I'm going to care about. Nothing else, but it's such an experience, right? And I think that if you guys have never played the game, or if you guys have, if you guys have even just stopped the game after the first generation, I think that you're missing out on a lot of things. I think that the game has improved so much, and like it or not, Pokemon Go has changed gaming in itself. You don't want to call it gaming, I guess, but like it's changed. It's changed the way that people do stuff. It was a phenomenon. You changed so much in terms of like whether the game is good or not. That's based on what you like, but the fact that it had an impact on everybody was huge. I think that was the biggest thing. And like, and it affected everybody. You wouldn't think old people, young people be into this. Like maybe the young people, maybe, there's still young kids that like Pokemon, obviously, but our generation was the generation that Pokemon existed. We're the ones who grew up with Pokemon. But yeah, people that are 30, 40 years older who probably didn't even know what a Pokemon was, they'd be out there catching these Pokemon. And
got it from their kids.
that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. It's sad that we don't get that experience as much anymore. And that is one of the things that I wish, like we could go back to, is just everybody going out. Like community day, you kind of get to see it a little bit, but like just everybody going out and having fun and playing Pokemon. And that's probably what would bring me back into the game a lot, is like, just that interaction, that social interaction, going out and meeting people. I remember when Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee first came out, the only way you could get a Meltan box is try transferring a Pokemon into Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because that's before Pokemon Home did it. So I would take my Switch to these raids so people could get a Meltan box.
Dedication.
Yeah.
Dedication,
make sure that they, I'd help them out. And one of the best things is being able to help people out, like, and trading them a Pokemon that they don't have, or, like that's fun with me. Like, it's just like finding rare Pokemon. That's great. But like being able to like go out and be like, hey, do you want this? I have 1 billion shiny Weedles. You don't have a shiny Weedle?
I'll
Here,
give you one.
have a shiny
Yeah,
Weedle.
that's part of why I hoard. That's part of why I be hoarding Pokemon sometimes, like, because I know there's someone who will probably want it.
Someone who has just starts the game, or someone who hasn't played in a long time. Which brings us up to our next topic, and probably our last topic of main topic, but things that we would recommend to new or returning players. Colby, take it away.
Well, yeah, we'll jump into this, but we're gonna try to make this part brief, and then we'll get into the Q&A, because it's kind of gonna be our wrapping the bow on things here. But basically, I'm gonna ask you guys straight up, what kind of things would you recommend to newer returning players? I know for me personally, and I didn't listen to Ian on this, so he's gonna take credit for being right, but don't take XP for granted. Once I got to level 40, I got to a point where I didn't care about lucky eggs. I didn't care about grinding. If somebody went best with me, I was like, oh, it's fine. If I don't have the egg on, whatever. I wasn't getting all the XP I could have been getting, and it definitely slowed my progression once level 50 was the new cap. So
absolutely, and then don't ever think that when level 50 is over and done with, that you're done with the game. I wouldn't be surprised if this game lasts long enough that we will see a level 100.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know how crazy that's going to look, but I would not be surprised if we see a level 100 in our lifetime. And that's just something that, like, the pinnacle of Pokemon is being level 100 in the main series game. That is the ultimate power, level 100.
But yeah, definitely don't take XP for granted. And as you've probably gotten from listening to us talk here for the last little while, join a group. Like, that's the big thing about Pokemon Go, is meeting new people, and you're gonna have to work with people anyway to do raids and other stuff. So it's good to have people that you get to know, and can rely on if you're looking for a raid or looking for stuff to do. But again, briefly, Brian, what's something that you would recommend to somebody new or somebody that hasn't played in a few years?
Someone new or hasn't played in a few years, just I would say remember to be patient and be patient with yourself. Don't start suffering from FOMO. There's a lot of stuff that the game offers, but don't get wrapped up in FOMO. Do, like, play the way you feel like you're comfortable playing, and don't let someone don't get. I would say don't get too caught up in the hype of when it comes to like events or legendaries that come around, and because most legendaries come back with their shinies, and of course everybody wants one, but if you can't play if you can't grind in the way that someone else can grind, don't get worked up about it. You can always trade for it, or it'll come back around in a different event. So I would just say, yeah, play in the way you are most comfortable playing the game.
Ian, what about you?
I think that that like a lot of this stuff is basically like hit or miss. Like it's just I think that like everybody takes different like the games differently, or what you want to do. If you want to catch Pokemon, if you want to do raids, but try everything, right? If you like battling for whatever reason, there's Rocket Grunts, which we haven't talked about at all. Team Rocket Grunts, Go Grunts, which are basically battles against Team Rocket. I'm surprised they haven't added any of the newer villains into the game at any point, but interesting enough, but you got the pet, shadow Pokemon. It's not even in a main series Pokemon game. But there's so many things that you can do in this game that if you haven't played since 2016, not only are you going to look at when you open the game and go, what the hell is that type of Pokemon? Because it's not just Gen 1 anymore. Hell, Pidgeys are rare in these days. Pidgeys be rare. Yeah. But like back in the day, like XP catch us all the Pidgeys because took very little candies to evolve. So you just put a lucky egg on, catch as many Pidgeys as you wanted, and evolve all of them, get that XP. Now you don't really have that because Pidgeys are rare. Who would have thought, like, if you told me in 2016, you're going to go a day without seeing a Pidgey?
No,
Calling
right?
people a liar at that point.
Yeah, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Go home. You're drunk.
You're drunk.
But I think that try everything, right? Like be able, like I said, Mike, for me, the aspect of that best fits this game is the social aspect. Something that in most other Pokemon games, they try a social aspect with trades and stuff like that, but it wasn't as big at beating the game of being able to do everything. But yeah, the social aspect of this is the best, and I think that if you are trying to get back into the game, go find yourself a community. And hell, if you want to join our community, let us know on Facebook. We have a Pokemon Go chat, and we're nowhere close to the 250. If Facebook still requires 250, so we have openings. We have openings. So if you are looking to get back into the game and you want to be on the Facebook chat, and you do need a Facebook account. You can make up one if you don't have a Facebook account. You don't have to use it for anything other than this chat. But
I would
join, have fun.
Right. I would ask, you're saying it was an open invitation to the chat that we're in, or you're
absolutely
are you saying one for Transfer Kings? Are you trying to have a
oh no, the chat, technically that is our chat. Like it or not, that is our chat. Like that was our chat.
I just wanted to clarify how you want to do that.
I am inviting people to why would I trade another chat? That would be too many damn chats. I'm already in too many chats that I don't pay attention to.
You don't keep track of them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Why would I create another one?
I mean, we do have a Discord too, but that's another one that we don't pay much attention to.
Yeah. I don't know the last time I checked the Discord. What? We don't even have that as a link anywhere on our pages. We probably should make that.
I don't think I even put.
Oh, you can always.
I don't think I even put that in my notes for our closing statement.
I think we just forgot about Discord. It's just like it's a thing that happens. Brian monitors it, and I guess you don't even monitor it because you don't.
Well, no one's really. No, I don't. No one's using it. I just check Discord. I'm on. The Discords the channels that I've joined on Discord anyway. That's why I keep going in. But I know there's nothing really going on with the Transfer Kings one. But you could, that's just something. Discord is something to go back to if enough people follow and join and show interest and want to continue chatting on the Discord. That's an option. But I know it's a small channel. It's not a lot of folks, so I get the Discord not being active. So it's not a big thing.
If we ever get big enough, I know a lot of people do have Discords for a lot of different things. And if I ever knew how to use Discord, I'm sure we could figure out a way to do a lot of things on Discord.
Well, it's there. The channel, the Discord channel for Transfer Games is still up and it's still active. So if it gets to be big enough, you can point more people in that direction.
Do we have a thing on Twitch for that? Like, we could put like.
I mean, they are linked. I don't know much more than that.
I don't know. We'll figure out the Discord thing. All right, let's just go from there. Let's go into our. What's up?
I was just gonna say, we'll wrap this up here.
Yeah, let's go into our questions and Q&A. And for people that have listened to our first podcast where we really didn't have a topic, I think that the biggest thing now is that we're going to try to actually have an episode topic, right? Like, so this one was all about Pokemon Go. We'll figure out what the next one's about, and then we'll just have people gear questions towards the topic on hand, and then that way it makes a little bit more sense, for whatever topic we choose.
Yeah, and I do have some announcements about that as well, but I'll go over that after we do our Q&A. So let's get into the Q&A, and then we'll close up shop. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do, actually do a Q and some A's. I need to apologize for a error, I guess would be the only way I can put it, that I made in I believe it was the last episode where we were talking about stuff. One of the things that came up was the World Cup, which I'll admit, and Ian will also admit, neither one of us knows a whole lot about soccer. I definitely probably know more, and that's not saying a lot because outside of watching the occasional game, I don't know anything, which is again still more than Ian does. But
hey, I did go to a soccer game yesterday.
True, it's true. You have been to more professional soccer games than I have, so you do have that notch in your belt.
I mean, I did go to a Baltimore Blast back in the day when there existed a Baltimore Blast. I don't remember anything about it, but I did go to a Baltimore Blast game.
So again, I made another error. Ian is the soccer professional of this duo. I apologize. I only played when I was like 7 years old. I don't have any other experience. No, but I did mention about the DC Baltimore World Cup not being chosen because of DC being crappy because of the whole FedEx Field situation. We did get a message that and an actual article link, which I can't open because I don't have access to The Athletic anymore. But I did do the research on this just to make sure that, or make sure I knew exactly what was going on, so I didn't sound like a complete dumbass. But yeah, it was not really DC's fault because they did not put FedEx Field in the joint bid. In my defense, they did use FedEx Field, but that was when they did their original bidding before everything kind of changed. But the actual bid was Baltimore was going to host with M&T Bank, and then DC was going to have like the FanFest stuff. So just a little correction we wanted to throw in there from last week. Yeah, because I figured we'd go ahead. I want to make sure I got that in before we got into our questions here. But I'm going to probably include you both on most of these, although the first one does say it's for Ian. So are you guys ready for some questions?
Sure. Brian, not this Brian, but other Brian.
All right, give me 1 second here. All right. So our first question here is for Ian. If you had to choose between using Aggron in a raid, you probably wouldn't win, or transferring a Piplup, what would you choose and why?
No, all this hate on Piplup. All right. I would transfer a Piplup. I cannot stand the ground of using an Aggron in a raid that I know that's not only a waste of a raid pass for myself, but that's a waste of a raid pass for everybody in that raid with me, and I would feel really bad for wasting their time and effort with that raid. So I would it's not that I've never transferred a Piplup before. It's
All right. Awesome. Well, next question we have here. This is kind of for everybody. What's the most shinies you guys have ever caught in a single event? And follow up, do you have a favorite shiny? Brian, I'll go with you first on this one.
All right. So I think the most I've gotten was from Porygon Community Day. I caught I caught 30, maybe a little more than 30 shinies on Porygon Community Day. That's like my personal best record for a community day. And a favorite shiny. Um I guess I guess I'm between like two. Right now it's kind of between shiny Rayquaza and the shiny Yveltal, or however you pronounce that name.
Yveltal?
Yes, thank
Yveltal.
you. I guess yeah, between those two, like, yeah, those are my favorite right now.
Ian, what about you?
So the most shinies, I believe, because I'm trying to think of all the different ones. I don't think I have a lot of luck in Go Fest nearly as much as the community days. So it was one of the first 6 hour community days we had shiny C-Dot, and I believe 38 shiny C-Dots. Why I ever need shiny 38 shiny C-Dots, I don't know. If I will ever. So again, if anybody needs a shiny C-Dot, you're welcome to have one of mine or a lot of mine. I have a lot still. I transferred a couple to home, but like I still have a lot of shiny C-Dots. So that is, and that's not even counting like because I think I was using some of my alt accounts too. So I'm pretty sure I caught over 60 shiny C-Dots during that event for all my accounts, but that's just per one account. My favorite shiny used to be so when I first realized what shinies were, because I caught a shiny in black and white too, and I didn't know what shinies were back in the day, and I deleted that file, and that's the shiny Magnemite. And I don't know, I guess that's the reason why I don't have luck in Pokemon Go with shiny Magnemite. I had to trade for him because I can't get shiny Magnemite because it's like you deleted me before I even knew what one was. But the original shiny that I liked was Psyduck, the blue duck. But I think that since then, I mean, generally my favorite color is blue, so a lot of the shinies that would be there are blue shinies. Like I really like Rockruff, shiny, Shuckle, shiny. Like, and I like shinies that like are various different than what you know. I'm not looking for Sunburnt Pikachu. I mean, I was looking for Sunburnt Pikachu, but that's not one of my favorites because it's like, is that shiny? Is that not shiny? They're like Burmy. You can't tell with that damn thing. If it wasn't for the sparkles, you wouldn't know if it was shiny or not. Like that's such a bad shiny. But yeah, most of my shinies, I guess, would be blue. I like Mothim a lot. I like shiny Mothim. Um, so yeah, there are quite a few shinies, I guess. How about you?
So for me, I'll start with my favorites. So you both kind of stole some of my thunder because Psyduck I love as one of my favorites, just that shade of blue. Rayquaza is easily my favorite legendary shiny. Um, I just love the black Rayquaza. It's so cool looking. Like even green Rayquaza is cool, but the black one just something about it is like really awesome looking.
It's different.
Yeah. And really that whole trio, Kyogre, Groudon, I love both those shinies, the pink and the lime green. Um, anything that's like a drastic color difference, that's not like an ugly drastic color difference. I really like Salamance's, the green. Um, I guess I'm really partial to green shinies. But those are just some that I can think of off the top of my head. Event wise, I think there was a Go Fest where I caught like 40 something shinies. I don't know if it was Go Fest or like a Safari Zone. It was one of those events that I had. It was one of the 2 day events. I had like 40 something the first day and then like another 30 something on day two. Um, that was easily my best. If we're exclusively talking about Community Day, then it was probably C Dot or Weedle Day. I know C Dot I caught like 35 of those things, and Weedle I'm pretty sure I caught over 40. So, um, yeah, those were my two. But yeah, let's I'll go ahead and pull up the next question here. So if you could create your own Pokemon Go event similar to, say, GoFest, what kind of theming would you use and what kind of perks would you consider? Um,
Mm.
it's kind of a interesting, thought-provoking question. Ian, do you have anything specific you would think of?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like the Kanto tour and the Johto tour kind of took away. Like I like the themed regional, like or not regional, but like the theme of like the where they're from, what game they're from, type of thing. So that would have been if they didn't have a Kanto or a Johto day, that would have been what I would say. But um I think GoFest in itself, I mean, I think I don't really know if I would create something similar to GoFest. GoFest is in itself a unique, experience for everybody, and I think that especially in the events that we've had, they kind of all eventually fit. Maybe I don't get the amount of shinies I want, but that's not on the event itself. The event itself is what it does. So theming wise, like I don't really have a theme. Like I guess you can kind of do typing themes, but they've kind of already do that in GoFest a little bit. Um, uh, I really don't know beyond that. And then perks, of course, like I can't think of perks that they haven't used. Like double, triple, quadruple, XP, Stardust, uh, berries. It's there's just so much that they've already done that I don't think that there's anything unique for me to do. I mean, I could be wrong, and definitely you two could take it away, but I just don't really think of anything that they haven't already done at some point.
What about you, Brian? Anything come to mind?
I mean, it is hard to. I mean, like Ian was saying, because GoFest and Safari Zone, like events like those two, there's usually a lot going on already with the spawns. Um, but if I'm creating an event with perks, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm going all in with triple Stardust, triple XP. Like you're getting like, look, if you're gonna play, I'm just like, if I'm gonna set up, I'm gonna hook you up with reward. You're gonna get that triple Stardust, the triple XP. Um, if you like that, if you like to hatch eggs during events, I'll give you that quarter egg hatch distance as well in the event. Yeah, I mean you gotta throw the good stuff in there. You want people to play this event, you gotta go in there, give them something. But but I guess if there was a go someone to go for, ooh, I don't know though, because they go for Safari Zones a lot, so I guess uh they already do different themes, but you could do like, I would say, if I mean, well, just throwing everything in there and like into the pot, that's just overwhelming and would just crash the game. So it would just crash and burn the game.
It
Would probably
barely holds on for GoFest.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, your phone might catch on fire from all of that activity, but if you want to narrow it down, you could do, I guess, a whole. You would I would say you could probably just combine stuff. You could probably just combine typing, like you do a two, like you combine like psychic and ghost types to combine. I mean, they've probably already done that, of course. I'm sure they've already done something similar, but like if you do something like that,
Yeah, it's kind of like what Ian said, and the typing thing, like you both mentioned. Well, Ian was saying where with like GoFest, they do like first hour is like water and grass types. Second hour, not water and grass. That's just an example. Second hour is two different types. Third hour is two different types, and so on. You could
yeah.
take like one of those hours and turn it into like an actual event. Like summertime, maybe have like some sort of water event, which they already do like a week long water event, but you don't have the like the increased rates or anything. You might get like a new shiny or something, but um yeah, that's really the only thing I could think you could do as far as like a new event, unless they'll probably come up with something new eventually. But who knows as far as like what they'll do. I'm sure the perks will be the same, the triple XP, double candy, that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's really all I can see on that.
One just popped in my head. If you just had an event of just all fully evolved forms, take the third or final stage, take the final stage forms of like all like every available Pokemon and just make that their spawns for the event, and they all could be shiny.
That could
There's
be
a chance they're all going to be shiny.
that could be interesting.
If
That's
another yeah, that could be interesting. And then if the ones that already had community days, you can catch them with their community day moves.
That'd
be awesome. Actually, that's actually a really good idea.
Like that would be epic. Like I think I think people would love that. Then
the only thing you'd have people bitching about is how hard they are to catch.
I mean, you better stack up. If that's true, you would have to probably they could be a little harder to catch. Stack up the Ultra Balls, kids.
All right. Well, next question we have here. If Brian and Donna had a race to catch Pokemon, which one would catch a regular non-shiny Pokemon first?
I think Brian would win that. I think Donna. See, I think when Brian clicks on the Pokemon, it turns into 4 shinies, and when Donna clicks on the Pokemon, it turns into 10 shinies. So I think with those odds, I think that Brian would win the non-shiny.
like to Donna, finding a non-shiny Pokemon is the equivalent to any of us finding a shiny Pokemon. So
I'm about to say, like, yeah, I guess I would get a regular non-shiny before Donna, because she catches shinies like crazy.
All right, and then next question: since the addition of remote made passes last year, Pokemon Go has brought more people together worldwide to work together in defeating legendary raids and increasing friendships. What are some more features you'd like to see in the future, and why is Piplup ass?
Look, Annie. All right, I know it was you.
Do you though?
Anyway,
I think we've already brought up what features we'd like to see in Pokemon Go with the distance trades and the chat.
Right.
Is there anything else? Like, I can't really think of anything that that we would need at this point. Like, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we could do, but I think that right now for the game, I think that we've already kind of named the big ones for us, and then I'm sure we'll come up with other things once we get what we want, and then we'll always have something. There's always gonna be something that we're gonna be like, but you don't have this, but we don't think about it because we're still wanting the things that we want now, and then eventually we'll be like, wait, what about this?
Brian, do you have anything you want to add to that, or answer why Piplup's asked, since Ian's avoiding that part of the question?
I'm gonna cut Ian some slack. I'm not gonna drag Piplup. I'm going to be nice this time and not drag Piplup.
Got to keep that nice public face going. Not.
I'm choosing. I'll tease and make fun of Piplup for being Piplup being trash. I've done it a bunch of times already. Ian knows this. I've done it a bunch of times already. I'm just choosing to be nice this time, as I am a guest on your podcast. I'm going to be nice and not drag it.
All right. Well, I'll move on, since I know we'll get more questions regarding Piplup, I'm sure. So I'll abstain for now. And obviously, as Ian said, we already talked about a lot of the features we want to see, so I won't really dive too much into it. My big thing is distance trading and being able to set that up, whether it's with an in-game chat or some sort of feature. But that's all we've got as far as Q&A. So we're gonna get ready to close this out here. All right, well, that's about gonna wrap it up for us today. Our next episode, we're kind of on the fence about what we're going to talk about, but I think we might get into talking about this last baseball season. Just talk about some of our highlights, some of our personal award winners, and things we're looking forward to going into 2023. So keep an eye on Facebook for that Q&A link for any questions you have regarding the season. We may also come up with some other topics. I know down the line, before the end of the year, we are hoping to get our MCU rankings episode in, which we've actually worked on since before launching this podcast. So we'll try to get that with Brian again and Annie as well. And I believe, Ian, I haven't even talked to you about this, but I think this is something you'll agree on. We should be doing some sort of N7 day special sometime around November 7th before.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With us being huge Mass Effect fans, for those who may not know, N7 is the main program that Commander Shepard is part of in the Mass Effect series. And on November 7th every year, that's considered N7 day. So there's a lot of Mass Effect content shared. And hopefully we'll get a new trailer or some sort of teaser this year. But again, we're going to try to get out of here. So we want to finish off by thanking our special guest, Brian, for joining us here today to talk about the wonderful world of Pokemon.
Thanks, Brian. You can check him out with us occasionally on our Twitch streams at twitch.tv/TransferKings. He's also in some of our VODs, which you can find now on our new TK VODs channel on YouTube. Really, with the YouTube thing, there's no special link. So if you go to our main YouTube channel under TK Communities, you can find both this podcast channel that we have specifically on YouTube and our TK VODs channels, which are streams that we've done previously on Twitch.
And as always, you can find us on most social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and because I forgot to put it in the notes, Discord. That at some point. Additionally, you can check out the TK merch store, which is currently colbyandian.com. The word and is spelled out, so it's colbyandian.com. And while you're there, you might consider picking up a Detroit Brian's t-shirt. One of
Oh, got you.
go ahead and help Brian get some cheddar out of the Transfer Kings.
Thanks again for listening to the Transfer Cast. This has been Ian.
And this has been Colby. As always, have a good whatever.